At 15 years old, I made my first $1,000 and it only took me a month. I've researched almost every online side hustle from dropshipping to Amazon FBA. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the best 3 side hustles I found so you can make up to $200 a day. But before I can cover each individual side hustle, there's 2 foundational skills you must develop, and they're so important people make entire careers out of them. The first skill is cold outreach, and it's essential for any small business looking to grow, but the only way to improve is to constantly do it. Cold emails, cold calls, DMs, and because outreach is purely a numbers game. If you've never heard that phrase, you could think of it like a video game. While the game was coded to only allow you a legendary sword 2 out of every 100 chests, improving your pitch can rapidly increase the amount of clients you get. So now, how do you improve your pitch? Well, the first thing is not coming off too strong, because no one likes being sold anything. Now, you finally have gotten in contact with your clients, but this leads right into the second essential skill. You need to be more comfortable with professional speaking. While I know this can be overwhelming, I can make it easy for you. All you have to understand is every professional conversation is just an opportunity for you to improve and grow as a person. Because personally, when I first started getting into side hustles, I was doing it all wrong. You see, I would be quick to try to rush a product out to my client, but provide no real value. Therefore, I'd get no referrals and they would never return for more services from me. Now that we have the foundational skills covered, it's time to talk about our first side hustle. Graphic design. Most people say graphic design is only possible if you're creatively inclined, but I still can't draw a car correctly. Even then, I was able to make money by investing in my learning. I did this by splitting my learning into phases and focusing the entire first week just on what success could look like and what graphic design really was. The second week, I learned what resources I needed to create designs for other people, and it boiled down to 3 main things. 1, I needed a laptop I could use to create my designs. 2, I needed a consistent internet connection so I would be able to access design platforms. And 3, I needed a software like Photoshop or the free alternative Canva. Once I had all those things and I was finally done learning, the work really began, and that started with building my portfolio. Shortly after my portfolio was finished, I began trying to find local businesses on Google. I would just look up businesses in my area and hundreds of results would come up waiting for me to reach out. After working with a few clients, your skills will be more refined and you'll have a better feeling for how to communicate with them. This is going to open up better paying opportunities and is the natural progression into the next side hustle I'm going to cover. Most people think websites are built from the ground up by someone slaving away at code in their room, but this is not always the truth. In fact, it only took me 3 weeks to learn how to build professional quality websites, and the first step for you to do the same would be understanding what web design even is. Now, in general, most people think of web design as user interface, also known as UI, and can be a bit complicated because there's more things to consider than graphic design. But with all that being said, it can be simplified down to understanding each client is going to have their own specific goals, and it's up to you to communicate with them effectively. That communication is going to be key for you to bring in great value for your client and eventually get more referrals or returns from that same person. Now, here was my exact blueprint to learning web design in 3 weeks. I spent the first week very similar to graphic design. I started analyzing the market by looking at what people were charging on freelancing websites like Fiverr and Upwork, and then eventually this would give me my baseline for what I would charge other people. After that, again, I wrote down what success looked like, and this time it was for me to upgrade my current laptop. The second week, the learning really kicked in when I had to figure out what programs I was going to end up using. There was Wix and WordPress. Once I chose WordPress, I made an account and started watching YouTube tutorials and learned all the main components of how to build a website. But it took me around a week to work through all the tutorials and gain a basic understanding of hosting, WordPress, and Elementor, and with that, it was time to start week 3. This was definitely where I spent the majority of time because, as I mentioned before, understanding your client's needs is the key to success. I pulled out my notebook and began writing down every main type of website that I could find and figured out the elements each website would need to create a successful experience for their customer. Then once I had an understanding for this, I used a design platform like Figma to create an example website for each type. After about a week, I was able to secure a good number of clients and eventually reach my goal of buying a new MacBook. These 2 side hustles are very artistically connected, but this last one's a different form of art, but it's the most lucrative paying. Great video editing can result in millions of dollars generated for these channels, and some of Mr. Beast editors claim that they make a few $1,000s per video. While this is obviously the peak of editing, how do you build up from the bottom? I have 3 simple steps you can follow to become a professional level editor, and the first step is learning the basics of an editing software. You can use either DaVinci Resolve, which is free, or Premiere Pro, which is paid, and there are countless YouTube tutorials out there to teach you exactly what you need to do. The second step is going to be understanding the market, and you do this by figuring out exactly what big and small creators need. You start by analyzing trending videos across social media, analyze the pacing, sound effects, and visual transitions the editors use. Figure out which elements hook the viewer in and how you can implement those into your own video. The last step is building your portfolio, but it's not as simple as web or graphic design. Editing is often learned through action, so your first 100 edits may not be on a professional level, but gradually over time you're going to continue improving and eventually link up with smaller creators. This will give you more exposure in the editing world and your skills will improve rapidly. And there you have it, the top 3 side hustles I think you should start today to make $1,000 and eventually make $200 a day.